Welcome back. This afternoon our focus is on mixed martial arts. The sport has been, like others, interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It's now returning to action. With me on the show I have President of Mixed Martial Arts Cairo Howarth and Demarte Pena, and also joining is Boyd Allen. Guys, thanks for staying on the show, and I'm going to start with yourself, Demarte. I mean, just in between the 12 months that EFC has been away, what has been one of your major challenges, with the likes of your fellow fighters?
I think ultimately most of us, we're athletes full-time, and then this is how we make our livelihood. And then the biggest problem, I think, has been the sponsors, where they've naturally pulled out because they haven't been supporting us throughout. So I think now EFC coming back and getting more sponsors back in the sport to assist us athletes was going to be amazing. So I think the hardest part was is that we get paid when we compete, and then most of us do this full-time. And naturally, the gyms were closed quite a while, and then most of us had to make another plan. So we're quite grateful now that we're in level one, so to speak, where more people are coming back to train, and then obviously the athletes are able to compete again. So it's quite great news, and we're quite grateful for EFC to be able to take this step forward much sooner than we expected.
Boyd, I mean, just as Demarte has mentioned, the livelihoods of the fighters has been affected because there's been close to 13 months of no action, through EFC. But you're generally in a position when you're in the gym, when you're training, to face obstacles and, to constantly keep your mind strong. How have you been able to overcome this hurdle?
So Arthur, obviously I've been competing in professional boxing at the same time, so I've been pretty active with that. They've had a few shows, so yeah, I've been competing there and just staying active. And now that EFC is back, we're focusing on the mixed martial arts a lot more, and we're looking forward to getting back in there and sort of testing ourselves again after a year layoff.
Fantastic. Cairo, I mean, EFC, of course, has been in the news for the wrong reasons, but there have also been some clarity from yourself and the likes of your organization on just some external parties that have been trying to obviously tarnish the image and the reputation of EFC, the allegations of referees, officials, and judges not being paid. I mean, the floor is yours. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the reality is we've been there's a COVID situation which has obviously affected us financially in a massive way. We haven't been earning revenue for a year. We earn revenue by hosting events and commercializing events. So without events, we haven't been earning revenue. Prior to that, EFC has pushed a big expansion plan. So a couple of years back, we changed our whole business model, Arthur. We literally decided we wanted to grow EFC to be the second most watched sport in Africa, and we see a huge opportunity for us to do that. We see a massive growth potential across the continent, but in order to do that, we need to be distributing our EFC content much wider. So we went on a massive television expansion plan that required the business to have a shortfall in cash. So we basically turned off our biggest revenue, which was an exclusive broadcast deal from an African TV network, and we started distributing our content widely to the biggest TV stations across Africa. And now EFC is broadcast on television every single week on over 30 of the biggest free-to-air TV networks across the continent, in addition to SuperSport, and we're going to be announcing a whole bunch more big TV deals soon. So in order to do that, it required us to financially change our business model, and it required us to really tighten our belts a lot. We went and spoke to all of the referees and the officials, and we said, this is the position we're in. We can either slow down and host less events, or we can continue growing the sport together. Do you guys want to work for getting paid later when the company can afford to do it? And every single official that we spoke to said, sure, they want to work and get paid later. We had the same conversation with the athletes. We said, guys, this is our position. We can pay you your contracted purse fee, but bonuses we can't actually afford. The company doesn't have the money to do it while we're embarking on this expansion plan. Are you keen to compete under these circumstances? We have an option to not pay bonuses, or we can pay them later when you're able to. And all the athletes came to the party and said, cool, let's continue growing the sport together. So that's what we did. over the last couple of years in order to grow the sport as much as we can, to grow the brand as much as we can, and to grow the presence of the athletes. We all benefit from this television expansion. All the athletes are now being promoted, and all the gyms are being promoted, and all their associated brands are being promoted extensively on television across the continent. We're going to have about 200 million people in Africa watching EFC and television in the next 12 months. So it's a huge result for us. But yeah, it has taken everyone coming together, which they have done. All the athletes have come together, all the officials have come together, the whole mixed martial arts ecosystem, so to speak, in African MMA has come together and made this possible.
Demarte, having heard Cairo mention that, are you proud, are you happy with the coverage of the sport across the African continent, especially because you represent Angola and EFC Worldwide has been able to reach many African regions?
I think ultimately we've seen quite a few people that have benefited from EFC and their global exposure. And then afterwards, when they leave EFC, they're trying to bash EFC for whatever they should have done. But at the end of the day, EFC is the only promotion really in the South African space or the African space that's giving the athletes that kind of exposure where they can go and compete in one championship, UFC and the like. So I think at the end of the day, EFC has done its best. And then obviously we, as athletes and as individuals, we wish we get paid more. I think naturally some guys that are getting paid millions wish they got paid more millions. So at the end of the day, I think EFC, it's important that they're back regardless of whatever rumors goes around. At the end of the day, it's better that EFC is back than not, because they are a platform that give us athletes a way to compete and obviously get better. So, I think most of us, we focus too much on the bad, but ultimately EFC coming back is better for the athletes, better for the sport, and then because they're doing a great job at the end of the day. So I'm grateful that we are able to compete there. Our athletes are able to compete and obviously entertain the fans, and that's what we are looking to do.
Boyd, it's all about the culture and the family that is EFC, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, MMA promotion company in Africa. Your thoughts about you coming in from the early days and just where the company is growing at this moment, Boyd?
Yeah, so, well, like Demarte said, we need EFC. As far as in South Africa, EFC is the only promotion that allows us to be seen on a world scale. And I think a lot of the athletes are going to try and get exposure through EFC and move on to bigger promotions worldwide and internationally. But we need to grow what's here in South Africa and Africa. And I think that the production that they put on is absolutely amazing from that point of view. There is no other production that can compete with the EFC.
All right, the prowess, that is EFC, of course, returning to South African televisions very, very close. In the month of May, it's all back to action. Of course, all the bone-crushing action will be back, and that's the sports that we love so much. We're almost at the end of the show. This is the last segment on Inside Sports. Stay with us on eNCA.